Columbus Day. On the second Monday of October, Americans celebrate Columbus Day. They remember Christopher Columbus's voyage to America in 1492. Who was Christopher Columbus? Christopher Columbus was born in 1451 in Genoa, a city on the northwest coast of Italy. At this time, Genoa was a very important commercial port. The young Christopher often went to the port and watched the ships leave. They seemed to go under the horizon. Many people at this time thought the world was flat, but others, Columbus included, believed that the world was round. Columbus wanted to test this idea. He first went to sea when he was only 14 years old. Columbus went to live in Portugal. When he was only 23, he had the idea of going to India, China, and Japan by sailing west. If the world was round, this was possible, he thought. But he needed money, ships, and men. He asked a lot of people for support, including the kings of Portugal, England, and France, but he got no help. Then he explained his idea to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. They were interested, and after some years, decided to help him. They gave him 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Nina, and the Pinta. It was difficult to find sailors for the voyage because it was long and dangerous. Finally, Columbus found about 90 men. He was ready to test his theory. On the 3rd of August, 1492, Columbus and the sailors left Palos on the coast of Spain. Queen Isabella and other important people went to see him leave. Columbus navigated with a magnetic compass. His ships traveled about 150 miles a day. The voyage was long and difficult, but the 3 ships arrived at the island of San Salvador in the Bahamas on the 12th of October, 1492. Columbus claimed these new lands for Spain. Columbus's voyage changed the future of navigation and the world. People in Europe called the new lands the New World. When Columbus returned to Spain, he told the king and queen about the new lands and showed them gold, valuable objects, and even some natives. They were very happy with Columbus's discovery. After Columbus, people from other European countries also went to the New World. Spain, Portugal, and England established colonies there. They found many new foods, plants, and animals in the New World. Celebrating Columbus Day. The first celebration of Columbus Day was on the 12th of October, 1792, in New York City, 300 years after Columbus's voyage. 400 years after the discovery of the New World, the city of Chicago celebrated Columbus's discovery with the Great Columbian Exposition. This exhibition, starting in May 1892 and finishing in October, attracted 28 million visitors. Many streets, schools, and universities all over the world are called Columbus. Today, many Americans celebrate Columbus Day with colorful parades. There is also sometimes a kind of Miss Columbus called a Columbus Day Queen. The parades are very long, with big floats dedicated to Columbus and marching bands. There are multicultural floats too, and people of different nationalities participate in the parade. Sometimes there are protests by groups of Native Americans on Columbus Day.
Halloween. October 31st is Halloween. It is a fun event in the United States Great Britain, and now in many other countries too. The origins of Halloween. Halloween has Celtic origins. The Celtic calendar was in two parts, summer and winter. Summer was from May to the end of October, and winter was from November to the end of April. The ancient Celtic festivity, Samhain, celebrated the end of the year, the start of winter. It began on the evening of October 31st and continued until the next day. Druids were Celtic priests. On October 31st, they performed religious rituals and talked about future events. The Celts believed that ghosts, witches, and evil spirits returned on the night of October 31st. They believed that evil spirits entered the body of a person or animal. They wore frightening costumes and made big fires to send them away. The colours of Halloween, orange and black, are of Celtic origin too. Orange was the colour of the harvest, and black was the colour of winter and long nights. The Druids believed that black cats had special powers and could feel if spirits were near, so black cats have become symbols of Halloween. The Romans invaded Great Britain in AD 43. After this invasion, Samhain became a harvest festival, and on October 31st, the Romans honoured their goddess of fruit trees, Pomona. During the centuries, the Roman Catholic Church put Christian festivities in the place of pre-Christian festivities. In the 8th century, the Church decided to call the 1st of November All Saints' Day. Another name for this day was All Hallows' Day. The evening of the 31st of October was All Hallows' Eve. This became Halloween. Celebrating Halloween today. Halloween is celebrated in the USA and has become popular in Europe too. Many children and adults go to Halloween parties wearing scary costumes and masks. American children take their costumes and masks to school. Some typical Halloween costumes are witches, ghosts, skeletons, monsters, vampires, and aliens. Many parents make the costumes, but some prefer to buy them. In the afternoon, the children put on their costumes and have a Halloween party at school. Pumpkins, ghosts, witches, and bats decorate the school hall and the classrooms. There are, of course, party games. One is called Bobbing for Apples. To play this game, you put water and apples in a big bowl. The apples stay on top of the water. You must take an apple out of the water with your teeth, but you can't use your hands. It's not easy. Many people get very wet. It is a popular tradition in the USA to buy a big pumpkin and make a jack-o'-lantern. People put their jack-o'-lanterns in front of the windows of their homes or in their gardens. This tradition originated in Great Britain and Ireland, when people wanted to frighten evil spirits. But they didn't use pumpkins then. They used big turnips. In the United States, there weren't any turnips, so people used pumpkins. Another popular Halloween tradition is trick-or-treating. This began in the 19th century and was an Irish tradition. Irish immigrants brought trick-or-treating to the United States. Today, children and teenagers go trick-or-treating in the evening. They visit their neighbours' houses in their costumes. When the door opens, they say, "Trick or treat!" People usually give them sweets or money. But when people don't give them a treat, the children play a trick. They sometimes write on windows with soap or even throw an egg at the front door of the house. Halloween is not just for children. Many teenagers and adults wear costumes.
Guy Fawkes Night. Guy Fawkes Night is a British festivity. It takes place on the 5th of November. Who was Guy Fawkes? The Roman Catholic Church was the most important form of the Christian religion in England from the 8th century. The leader was the Pope in Rome. But in 1534, the situation changed. King Henry VIII of England wanted to divorce his wife, Catherine of Aragon, because she could not have children, and marry another woman, Anne Boleyn. The Catholic Church did not permit this, so Henry VIII left the Roman Catholic Church and started the Church of England, with himself as its leader. In 1605, the king and leader of the Church of England was James I. He passed laws against Roman Catholics. They had to pay a lot of money if they did not go to Church of England religious services. A group of Catholics planned to blow up Parliament in London on the 5th of November 1605, when the king was present. This plan was called the Gunpowder Plot. The leader of the plot was Robert Catesby. He and the others put 36 barrels of explosives under the Palace of Westminster. Guy Fawkes stayed there and waited to light the fuse. But because of an anonymous letter, the king's soldiers discovered the plot. They searched the Palace of Westminster and found Guy Fawkes with the explosives. They took him to the Tower of London. They wanted the names of the other men, but Fawkes did not speak. They then took Fawkes to King James I, but he still did not speak. Finally, they tortured him, and he told them everything. Soldiers went to arrest the other men and killed some when they tried to escape. On the 30th and 31st of January 1606, they hanged Guy Fawkes and another 7 men from the plot. Celebrating Guy Fawkes Night. On the evening of the 5th of November, there are fireworks and bonfires. Guy Fawkes Night is also called Bonfire Night. Children often make a guy. This is a model of Guy Fawkes. They use old clothes and fill them with newspaper, and they make a head and draw a face on it. They put the guy on the bonfire and burn it. Some people have bonfires in their gardens. But many people buy tickets and go to a public bonfire and firework display in their town or city. Children love the noise and the excitement. On Bonfire Night in Lewes, Sussex in southeast England, people wear historical costumes from the time of the Gunpowder Plot.
Thanksgiving. Americans of all religions celebrate Thanksgiving on the 4th Thursday of November. Children do not go to school, and most businesses close for 4 days. People in Canada also celebrate Thanksgiving, but they celebrate it on the 2nd Monday in October. Thanksgiving is a special day for families, and people travel great distances to be with their families for this occasion. Why is Thanksgiving an important day? The tradition started with the Pilgrim Fathers. They were the founders of a colony in North America. These people were Puritans. They were against the Church of England and suffered religious persecution in England. They wanted to start a new life in a new country. Eventually, on the 6th of September, 1620, 102 men, women, and children left Plymouth in southwest England on a ship called the Mayflower. The voyage was difficult. 2 pilgrims died, but 2 were born. On the 11th of December 1620, they landed on the northeast coast of North America. They called this area Plymouth. It was almost winter, and there wasn't much food. They immediately built small houses, but it was too late to grow crops. The winter was very long and cold, and half of the pilgrims died. In the spring, a Native American called Squanto helped the pilgrims. He taught them how to grow corn and how to hunt and fish. Soon the pilgrims and the Wampanoag Native Americans became friends. The pilgrims grew crops, and the summer harvest was excellent. By November 1621, everyone had food and a home. There was hope for the future. William Bradford was the governor of the Pilgrims' colony. He decided to celebrate with a dinner for the Pilgrims and about 90 Native Americans. He wanted to thank God. This was the first Thanksgiving dinner, and it continued for 3 days. A traditional Thanksgiving. Today, the traditional Thanksgiving meal is similar to the first. People eat roast turkey with cranberry sauce, potatoes, corn, and pumpkin pie. Vegetarians don't eat meat, but they still celebrate Thanksgiving with other foods, such as soya products, rice, fruit, vegetables, and big salads. Many charity organizations prepare a free meal for the poor people in their town or city. New York City celebrates with Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Macy's department store organized its first parade in 1924. This parade is very famous, and more than 2 million people go to see it every year.
Christmas. Christians in many parts of the world celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December. This festivity celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ. Members of the Russian and Serb Orthodox Church celebrate on the 7th of January. The history of Christmas. We do not know exactly when Christians first started to celebrate the birth of Christ. Many historians believe this was in the 4th century, when Christmas began to take the place of the pagan celebrations of the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. The Bible does not say when Christ was born. Early Christians probably chose the 25th of December because it was near the dates of 2 pagan festivities. The ancient Roman god of agriculture was Saturn, and in December the Romans celebrated Saturnalia. This festival lasted for many days and included the winter solstice. This day was usually on the 21st or 22nd of December. During Saturnalia, the Romans had parties and gave presents to their family, friends, and children. The pagan people of Scandinavia also had a winter festival. It was called Yule. It also included the winter solstice and lasted for many days. The men brought home a big log and burnt it. They believed the log helped to bring back the sun. The family celebrated until the log stopped burning, and sometimes this took 12 days. Today, a popular cake at Christmas is in the form of a Yule log. The traditions of Yule were fir trees, holly, mistletoe, cakes, and presents. They are all still symbols of Christmas. Ancient Europeans believed that mistletoe had magic powers. Even today, if a boy and girl meet under the mistletoe, they kiss. The tradition is that this brings good luck, and it is a sign of friendship and affection. Today's traditional British Christmas comes from the Victorian period, when Victoria was Queen from 1837 to 1901. Christmas then started to become an important festivity. It was a time for the family to be together and a time to enjoy special foods, music, carols, and games. In Britain, there were more things to buy in shops, and the tradition of giving presents grew. But at this time, there were also big differences between the social classes. There were the very rich and the very poor. Rich children received dolls, dolls' houses, games, and books. Poor children received an apple, an orange, or a very small toy. Charles Dickens described the Victorian Christmas in his Christmas stories, especially in A Christmas Carol, 1843. In this story, Dickens shows the differences between the rich and the poor in Victorian society during Christmas celebrations. Preparing for Christmas. When we think of Christmas, we think of the Christmas tree. The tradition of the Christmas tree comes from Germany. Germans had a fir tree in their homes, and they decorated it with biscuits and candles. In Great Britain, the Christmas tree became popular after 1840, when Queen Victoria married Prince Albert, a German. He brought the tradition of the Christmas tree to the royal family. Then many people started to have Christmas trees in their homes. Today, almost every Christian family has a Christmas tree at home or in the garden. Some families put up the tree on Christmas Eve, while many others put it up at the beginning of December. People decorate the tree with coloured lights, and at the top of the tree they usually put an angel or a star. They also like to decorate their homes and gardens with other Christmas symbols, such as holly, mistletoe, and paper decorations. Towns and cities, too, usually decorate the trees in the parks with coloured lights. Every year, there is a very big Christmas tree in Trafalgar Square in London. It is a present from the people of Norway. This tradition started in 1947, when the Norwegians wanted to thank the British for their help during World War II. This tree is about 25 metres tall, and it is decorated with white lights. America's most famous Christmas tree is at the Rockefeller Center on Fifth Avenue in New York City. This spectacular Christmas tree has about 5 miles of lights. Every Christmas, millions of people go ice skating near the Rockefeller tree. Shopping for Christmas presents can be fun. During the Christmas season, shops are open until late, and they are often open on Sundays too. There are always a lot of people in the shops looking for the right presents for their family and friends. The shop windows have decorations, and many towns and cities put Christmas trees and other Christmas decorations in the shopping streets. If you want to buy toys, in London there is a great toy shop called Hamley's. Children and adults love it. There are 6 floors full of toys and interesting games for all ages. Another wonderful toy shop is FAO Schwartz on Fifth Avenue in New York City. It is New York City's favorite toy shop. Christmas is a happy time, but it is also a time to help and remember others. No one wants to be alone at Christmas. During the Christmas season, charity organizations ask for money for the poor people and the homeless in their town. They organize free meals and often give toys to the poor children. In Great Britain and America, people send Christmas cards to their friends and relatives. They usually buy boxes of Christmas cards, often from charity organizations. Many families show all the cards they receive. They put them on the walls in their houses. The British painter John Calcutt Horsley designed the first Christmas card in 1843. The design was a family party with the words, "A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you." Christmas carols and Christmas music are very popular. Many Christmas carols are very old. A lot come from Europe, but some are American too. People sing Christmas carols in church, in town centres, and sometimes in front of their neighbours' houses. If people like the carols, they give the carol singers money. The carol singers usually give this money to charity organisations. In Great Britain, pantomimes are very popular. This wonderful Christmas entertainment is a form of comic theatre with songs. The stories are usually famous fairy tales such as Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, or Aladdin. A man usually acts the part of an old woman. This is a funny part. Pantomimes can be very noisy because the audience participates in the performance a lot. The actors sometimes speak to the audience, and the audience shouts an answer. The audience often sings with the actors, and when the bad person of the story enters, the audience says, "Boo!" Pantomimes are lots of fun for all the family. A traditional Christmas day. Some Christians go to church at midnight on Christmas Eve, while others go on Christmas morning. There are special Christmas services in all Christian churches. Some people don't go to church, but on Christmas Day, families try to be together. People travel long distances to spend a family Christmas. Children and adults usually open their presents on Christmas morning around the Christmas tree, or sometimes even in bed. This is a very happy moment, especially for the children. In Great Britain, there is a big Christmas lunch with special foods. People start cooking the Christmas meal very early, especially when there is a turkey. A big turkey takes a long time to cook. Christmas crackers are an old tradition and are part of the Christmas lunch. 2 people pull the cracker until it goes bang and opens. Inside, there is a small present, a paper hat, and a joke. People sometimes wear the paper hat during the rest of Christmas lunch. In the United States, families spend Christmas Day together at home. They play games and watch Christmas films on television. In the evening, they have a big Christmas dinner with lots of special foods. On the 26th of December, St. Stephen's Day in the Christian calendar, people in America go back to work. But in Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, they don't. In these countries, the 26th of December is a public holiday. It is called Boxing Day. This name has 2 possible origins. Some say it has this name because in the past, English masters gave their servants a box with small presents or money on the 26th of December. Others say it has this name because churches had boxes for the poor. People put money in these boxes, and the churches
Martin Luther King Day. On the third Monday in January, America celebrates Martin Luther King Day. This is quite a new public holiday in the United States. It started in 1983. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. was an important person in the American Civil Rights Movement. He believed in nonviolence. Dr. King was born on the 15th of January 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, and became a Baptist minister. At that time, there was segregation in the southern states of America. Black people could not use certain types of public transport and go to the same schools and churches as white people. Dr. King didn't agree with this, and he protested in public. The police arrested him several times. On one occasion, John F. Kennedy asked the police to free Dr. King. In many southern towns and cities, black people sat at the back of the bus and white people at the front. In 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, one lady, Rosa Parks, refused to give her seat to a white person. The police came and arrested her. Dr. King then organized a boycott of the Montgomery bus system. No black person used a bus in Montgomery for 382 days. In the end, the Supreme Court decided to stop segregation on public transport. After this victory, Dr. King was famous. After this, there were many other victories. He campaigned against segregation and inequality in other cities in the South. In 1963, in Birmingham, Alabama, he organized another peaceful protest. He invited children and young adults to march with him. The police commissioner, Eugene Bull Connor, ordered his policemen to attack them with dogs and water cannons. Televisions and newspapers all over the world showed these pictures of police brutality. In August 1963, Dr. King helped to organize the Civil Rights March on Washington, D.C. On that day, he gave his most famous speech. Everybody now knows the phrase, "I have a dream." These are some lines from that speech. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. In Washington, D.C., more than 200,000 people listened to this speech. In 1964, America passed the Civil Rights Act. This changed the lives of African Americans forever. In this year, Dr. King won the Nobel Peace Prize. On the 4th of April 1968, a man called James Earl Ray assassinated Dr. King in Memphis. Every year, Americans remember Dr. King's work by celebrating this national holiday. All the schools close for the day. People try to remember what Dr. King believed in. They try to help someone on this day. It is not a day for rest, but a day to think about how we can help people around us. In 1969, Dr. King's wife, Coretta Scott King, opened the Martin Luther King Jr. Center in Atlanta, Georgia.
Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year is a very important festivity for Chinese people everywhere. It is also called the Spring Festival or the Lunar New Year. The exact date of the Chinese New Year changes from year to year, but it is always between the 21st of January and the 19th of February. In ancient China, people used the moon to calculate time, and in the Chinese lunar calendar, every month begins with the new moon. Every year of the Chinese calendar has an animal's name. These animals are the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, cockerel, dog, and pig. The Chinese believe that a person born in a particular year has some of the characteristics of that animal. Celebrating the Chinese New Year. Chinese families celebrate the New Year for 2 weeks. They decorate their houses, towns, and villages with colored lanterns, flowers, and many other decorations. They carefully clean the house and throw away old things. This means they are throwing away the bad luck of the past year. It is very important for the Chinese to be with their families on New Year's Eve. On this occasion, the family eats a big, delicious meal together. Fish is always part of the dinner, along with rice, different meats, and vegetables. Each food has a special meaning, and the Chinese believe these foods bring good luck. On New Year's Day, the Chinese wear new clothes to symbolize the new year. Red is a popular color because the Chinese believe that it is lucky. Parents and family members give children the traditional New Year's gift called Lai Si, lucky money, a red and gold envelope with some money inside. There are a lot of big Chinese communities outside China. In many big cities such as London, New York, and San Francisco, there are areas called Chinatown. In these areas, there are many Chinese shops and restaurants. Chinese New Year is a big celebration both for the Chinese and the local people of these areas, and there are a lot of colorful decorations in the streets of every Chinatown. A very important celebration is the parade on New Year's Day, when there are a lot of spectacular floats. The dragon is an important part of the parade because people believe it is noble and lucky. In the parade, a dragon can sometimes be 25 meters long and can have about 60 men move under its body and tail. People often throw money at the dragon, and the dragon tries to catch it in its big mouth. Sometimes there is more than one dragon in the parade. If so, there is a dancing competition between the dragons. Lion dancing is an ancient Chinese tradition, and lion dancers are always part of the parade. 2 men usually move under each lion. It has a big head and a long body. Musicians play the drums and cymbals during the lion dance. There are also noisy fireworks. The Chinese believe that the noise frightens evil spirits. During the parade, children represent the 12 animals of the Chinese calendar. Chinese children like wearing the costume of their favorite animal during the parade. There are also acrobats and musicians in beautiful costumes.
Valentine's Day. On the 14th of February, lovers celebrate Valentine's Day. People in love give each other cards and presents. Flowers, especially roses, chocolates or jewellery. In the evening, there are special parties and couples sometimes go to restaurants for a romantic dinner. In New York City, on the top of the Empire State Building, there are red lights on Valentine's Day. Where does Valentine's Day come from? The ancient Roman festival of Lupercalia was on the 15th of February. On this day, young men took the names of young women out of a vase. The couples formed in this way stayed together until the next Lupercalia. As usual, the Christian Church wanted to replace pagan festivals with Christian festivals. So at the end of the 5th century, Pope Gelasius created St. Valentine's Day on the 14th of February. Nobody knows exactly who Valentine was. There are 3 possibilities. Some people think he was a Christian priest when Claudius II was the Roman emperor. When he needed a lot of soldiers for his army, Claudius did not permit marriages, but Valentine performed marriages secretly. The authorities discovered this and executed him in AD 270. There were another 2 Valentines in the 3rd century. The Romans executed them because they were Christians. A legend says that one of them fell in love with the daughter of the prison keeper. Before his execution, he wrote a letter to her. He signed it, "From your Valentine." Valentine's cards. European immigrants took the Valentine tradition to America. They made beautiful Valentine's cards. On the outside of the cards, they painted butterflies, flowers, cupids, and hearts, and on the inside, they wrote original poems. In 1847, an American, Esther Howland, created the first commercial cards. People could then buy cards in shops. Today, few people make Valentine's cards. They buy them. Most cards are romantic, but some are humorous. In America, many people also send cards to parents, relatives, and friends as a sign of friendship. In Great Britain, this is not common. Valentine cards are for lovers. However, the cards are usually anonymous, even between husband and wife. People don't sign their names. They sign the card with a question mark, or they do not sign the card at all. In the United States, young school children take to school the same number of Valentine's cards as the number of children in the class. There is no name on the envelope, but each child writes their name inside the cards. On Valentine's Day, children make colourful red and pink decorations for their classroom, and the teacher gives the cards and some sweets to every child.
President's Day. In the United States, people celebrate President's Day on the 3rd Monday of February. This festivity celebrates the birthdays of 2 great presidents, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. George Washington. George Washington was born on the 22nd of February, 1732, in Virginia. At this time, America was still a British colony. At the age of 20, Washington became a soldier with the British Army and fought against French colonists in America. In 1759, he married and became the owner of a big plantation. He also became interested in politics. In 1765, the American colonists began to protest against Great Britain. They did not want to have British laws and pay taxes to the British King, George III. They wanted America to become an independent nation. This was the beginning of the American Revolution. The American War of Independence lasted from 1775 until 1783. For all this time, Washington was the colonists' leader and commander of the American Army. Washington became the first president of the United States in 1789. He was dedicated and honest, and was president until 1797, when he chose not to accept a third presidency. He retired from public life, and 2 years later, in 1799, he died at the age of 67. Abraham Lincoln. Another great president, Abraham Lincoln, was born on the 12th of February, 1809, in Kentucky. As a child, Lincoln only went to school for about a year, but he loved reading and studying. He wanted to learn. When he was a young man, Lincoln decided to enter politics in Illinois and also to study law. In 1836, he became a lawyer in Springfield, Illinois. He also continued in politics, and in 1837, he became a member of Congress representing the state of Illinois. Lincoln became the 16th President of the United States in 1861. At this time, the question of slavery divided the North and the South of the United States. The South wanted slavery, but the North did not. This was the most important cause of the American Civil War. This terrible war lasted from 1861 to 1865, and more than 600,000 soldiers died before the North won. The Battle of Gettysburg was a very important victory for the North. It lasted 3 days in July 1863, and 40,000 soldiers died. On the 18th of November 1863, Lincoln went to Gettysburg to open the National Cemetery at the place of the battle. He gave a famous speech called the Gettysburg Address, expressing the principles of democratic government. In his speech, Lincoln used for the first time the famous expression, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people." Soon after the end of the war, on the 14th of April 1865, Lincoln and his wife went to the theater in Washington, D.C. A man called John Wilkes Booth, a member of a Southern plot, shot and killed him. Lincoln was only 56 years old.
St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day on the 17th of March is the most important Irish festival. Because of terrible conditions in Ireland during the 1800s, many Irish went to America, so the Irish community in the United States is very big. They went to live all over the country and took their traditions with them. There are also many Irish in Britain and all over the world. Who was St. Patrick? St. Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland. He was probably born in Wales in about AD 389. His father was a Christian. When Patrick was 16 years old, some pirates took him to Ireland, where he became a slave. After 6 years, he escaped to France. He became a priest there. He returned to Ireland as a bishop in about 432. He converted a lot of Irish people to Christianity, and he introduced the Roman alphabet to Ireland. He wrote his autobiography in Latin about his life and work in Ireland. He died in about 461. There are legends about St. Patrick. One legend says he took all the snakes in Ireland to the top of a mountain and pushed them into the sea. Another legend says he used the shamrock to teach the Irish about Christianity. He used the 3 leaves of this plant to explain that for Christians, God is 3 beings at the same time. Celebrating St. Patrick's Day. In Ireland, St. Patrick's Day is an important religious holiday. Businesses are closed and people go to church. In 1995, the Irish government started the St. Patrick's Day Festival, a 4-day festival in the capital city, Dublin. On St. Patrick's Day, there are a lot of tricolour flags in the streets. Irish people created this flag in 1848 with a special meaning. The green represents Irish Catholics, mostly from the south of Ireland, and the orange represents Irish Protestants, mostly from the north of Ireland. The white rectangle in the middle represents the hope for peace between Catholics and Protestants. In the United States, the first celebration of St. Patrick's Day was in Boston in 1737. Today, on the 17th of March, the Irish community in America organises parades with marching bands and Irish music in many towns and cities. The parade in New York City is the biggest in the world. More than 150,000 people take part in the marching. And in the city of Chicago, the Chicago River is coloured green on St. Patrick's Day. The Irish believe that green is a lucky colour, and a lot of people wear green clothes on St. Patrick's Day. The green shamrock is a symbol of Ireland, and another symbol is a leprechaun, a kind of Irish fairy.
Easter. Easter is the most important festivity of the year for Christians. On Easter Day, Christians celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Easter Day is on the first Sunday after the full moon in March. This day is between the 22nd of March and the 25th of April. The date is later in the calendar of the Eastern Orthodox Church. Non-Christians like Easter time because some traditions remind people that nature is coming alive again after winter. The origins of Easter. The modern English word Easter may come from the name of an old Northern European pagan goddess. The goddess with the most similar name was Eastra, but there were other goddesses with names similar to Easter. They were all goddesses of spring and fertility. Pagans celebrated spring and the beginning of new life with festivals in March and April. When Christianity became important, the Christian Easter gradually replaced pagan festivals. But we still use today some symbols from pagan spring festivals. Flowers and eggs were symbols of new life, and rabbits were symbols of fertility. Easter today. For Christians, the week before Easter is Holy Week. On Holy Thursday, Christians remember the last meal Jesus had with his disciples. On Good Friday, Christians believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross. On Easter Day, they believe that Jesus Christ came back to life and went to heaven. Many Christian families go to church on Easter Day in the morning. There are also non-religious Easter traditions. One of these is wearing new clothes or new shoes. In America, there are Easter bonnet parades. Girls and women make their own original Easter bonnets and march in a parade. The famous Easter Bonnet Parade on Fifth Avenue in New York City is a tradition from the middle of the 19th century. Thousands of people go to watch it. Easter eggs and the Easter Bunny. In the days before Easter, American and British schoolchildren sometimes paint Easter eggs with bright colours. Immigrants from Germany brought the tradition of the Easter Bunny to America. On Easter Day, there are Easter egg hunts. Parents hide eggs and ask their children to find them. The children go and look for the eggs. When they find them, they put them in colourful Easter baskets. The child with the most eggs is the winner. There are many games that you can play with eggs. For example, you can roll eggs down a hill. The eggs must arrive at the bottom without breaking. On Easter Monday, children from Washington, D.C. go to the White House gardens and play all kinds of games with eggs. This tradition goes back to 1872, and the children of the President of the United States usually take part in the games. Special Easter foods. Families usually spend Easter Day together. The traditional Easter meal is roast lamb, new potatoes, peas and other vegetables. There are chocolate eggs for children. Some eggs have a surprise in them. Others have someone's name on them. And others are just empty chocolate eggs. Hot crust buns are typical on Good Friday in Britain. They are small, sweet cakes with a cross on top. The cross represents Jesus Christ's death on the cross. Events before Easter. Before Easter, there is a period of time in the Christian calendar called Lent. It lasts for 40 weekdays until Easter Day. During Lent, some Christians do not eat some of their favourite foods. The day before Lent starts is called Shrove Tuesday. On this day, the Christian tradition is to use all the fat foods in the kitchen before Lent begins. Shrove Tuesday in Great Britain is also called Pancake Day because it is traditional to eat pancakes. This is because pancakes use fat foods in the kitchen before Lent starts. In some places, there are pancake races. People run and toss pancakes in a frying pan. They must not drop the pancakes as they run. Shrove Tuesday is called Mardi Gras in America. Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday in French. The name refers to using fat foods before Lent. Mardi Gras is famous in America because of the carnival in New Orleans. Traditionally, carnival was a time of eating, drinking and fun before the serious period of Lent. In New Orleans, there are celebrations and parades with amazing costumes for 12
May Day. We celebrate the coming of summer on the first day of May. In many countries, the 1st of May is now a festival celebrating labour. But originally, this day was a nature festival to celebrate new life and welcome the warmer weather. The origins of May Day. Many ancient cultures had festivals at this time of the year. The Celts celebrated the beginning of summer on the night before the 1st of May. The name of this festival was Beltane. It was the opposite of Samhain, the festival celebrating the beginning of winter. On the night of Beltane, the Celts made big bonfires. At this time of the year, the Romans had a festivity called Floralia, in honour of Flora, the goddess of flowers and spring. When they invaded Britain, they brought this festivity with them. During the Middle Ages, May Day was one of the most important days in the year. Everybody got up early and went maying. They went into the country to collect flowers and branches of trees to decorate their homes. Then there were games and singing and dancing. The most important dance was around the maypole. People chose a girl from the village to be the Queen of the May. May Day today. In Great Britain, May Day is a public holiday. But it is not always on the 1st of May. It is on the first Monday in May. It is much less important than in the Middle Ages, but there are still some traditions. In traditional maypole dances, children dance around the maypole. The maypole, the ancient symbol of life, has many colourful ribbons on it. The ribbons represent the rays of the sun. You can also see Morris dancing on May Day. This kind of dancing probably came from Spain in the 15th century, but it is a very British tradition now. Morris dancers dance with handkerchiefs and bells. They move their feet a lot to make the bells ring. This was to wake up the spirits in the earth after winter.
Independence Day. The 4th of July, or Independence Day, is America's birthday. It is a public holiday, and Americans remember the ideals of liberty, equality, and opportunity for everybody. The American Revolution. In the 18th century, there were 13 British colonies in America. But, starting in 1765, these colonies began to protest. They did not like paying high taxes to Great Britain, and they wanted America to become an independent nation with its own government. A number of different acts of protests against Great Britain started the American Revolution. The Boston Tea Party is the most famous of these acts of protest. In 1773, the British Parliament put a new tax on tea. The American colonists were very angry. They did not want to pay another tax. So, on the 16th of December, 1773, a group of colonists in Boston put on Native American clothes, went onto 3 British ships, and threw 342 valuable boxes of tea into the sea. The British Parliament reacted with severe laws, and the colonists protested even more. In April 1775, the American War of Independence began, with battles between British soldiers and American colonists at Lexington and Concord. A group of 56 Americans, principally Thomas Jefferson and including George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and others, wrote the Declaration of Independence. This document declared equality and liberty for all men, the separation of the 13 American colonies from Great Britain, and the creation of the United States of America. On the 4th of July, 1776, the leaders of the Revolution approved this document. On the 8th of July, 1776, they read the Declaration of Independence for the first time in public. This was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. After reading it, they rang a bell. It became a tradition to ring this bell every 4th of July until it broke in 1835. The bell, called the Liberty Bell, is still an important symbol of Independence Day. It is on display in the Independence National Historic Park in Philadelphia. The war continued after the Declaration of Independence. The French took part on the side of the Americans in 1778, and in 1781, American and French soldiers won an important battle in Yorktown, Virginia. In 1783, America and Great Britain signed the final peace treaty in Paris, and the United States of America became an independent nation. The American flag. The American colonists wanted a flag for their new country. In 1776, Washington asked a friend, Betsy Ross, to make the first American flag. He showed Betsy a design of the new flag. There were 13 red and white stripes and a circle of 13 white stars on a blue background. The number 13 was important because there were 13 states in 1776. In June 1777, the new American flag was ready. Now there are 50 states and 50 white stars on the flag, but there are still only 13 stripes. Americans call their flag the Stars and Stripes. Independence Day today. Today, Americans celebrate the 4th of July in different ways. There is an American flag on public buildings and schools. Many people put a flag outside their windows or in their gardens. The flag is important to Americans. Every morning, not just on Independence Day, school children salute the flag before they start the day's lessons. Every city and town organizes celebrations, and there are red, white, and blue decorations on the streets. Some traditional events are patriotic speeches, parades, baseball games, competitions, music, dancing, picnics, barbecues, and fireworks. Picnics and barbecues are an American tradition, and at this time of the year, people eat hamburgers, hot dogs, potato salad, chocolate cake, and ice cream. In the East, there are historic parades with people in costumes from the 18th century. In the West, there are spectacular rodeos, events where cowboys ride wild horses and catch young cows with ropes. There are also Native American powwows, meetings
Notting Hill Carnival. The Notting Hill Carnival is the biggest street festival in Europe. It takes place in Notting Hill Gate, an area of West London, on the last Sunday and Monday of August. The last Monday of August is always a public holiday, so most people are free to come. How did the carnival start? After World War II and during the 1950s, people from the Caribbean, many of them from the islands of Trinidad and Tobago, came to Great Britain to work. They did not forget their traditions. Carnival was an important Caribbean tradition. The first Caribbean carnival took place in 1833 in Trinidad to celebrate the end of slavery. In 1958, there was violence between white people and black people in the Notting Hill area. The next year, there was a decision to have a carnival to help black and white people in London to come together. It took place in different parts of West London, and in 1964, it took place in Notting Hill Gate. There weren't many people in costume, but they danced in the streets and played steel drums. It was a great success. After 1964, it always took place in Notting Hill Gate. The Carnival today. Today, the Notting Hill Carnival is an enormous multicultural festival. More than 1 million people go every year. Sunday is a family day, the best day for children to go. During the year, the participants prepare for the carnival. They make their costumes, practice playing their steel drums, and prepare their floats. On the days of the carnival, Notting Hill Gate is full of people, colour, excitement, music, and noise. People with wonderful costumes dance in the streets. Steel bands play calypso, the traditional music of the Caribbean. They also play soca. Soca is a newer form of music, a mixture of soul and calypso, but it is now associated with the carnival. There is also reggae, hip-hop, and jazz. There is a parade with colourful floats, and there is a prize for the best float. The parade travels about 4.5 miles through the streets of West London. And if you are hungry after all that dancing, you can find people selling meat and vegetable patties, salted fish, and other delicious Caribbean specialities.